Hi everyone! I thought today that we would flex our drawing muscles a little bit and do a tutorial from Helen Elliston's Sketch and Shade book. It's absolutely fantastic. It is filled with brilliant drawing tutorials and they're all step by step and explained really easily. I have reviewed this. If you missed it, I will put a link in the description for that review. So I thought the one that we'd give a go is the Silver Bell, this one here, and hopefully, I've not tried it yet, this is my first time trying this one. Hopefully I can get it looking something like Helen's amazing realistic finished piece. Fingers crossed, so we will see. The first thing that it says, and I'm going to move this to the side so I've got enough room to show you what I'm doing. The first thing it says is to draw a light grid so that you can get the proportions and the symmetry of your bell pretty right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a horizontal line here and then one at the bottom here, and I think we'll make our bell around about that big. It's quite big, but it doesn't matter, you can always scale it down. And then I'll do one in the middle, just rough middle, you know, I'm not measuring this or anything, and then one straight down the centre, or centre-ish. My hand likes to go wobbly, it's not perfectly straight, but yeah, let's just say that one of those lines is fairly straight. I'm doing it quite lightly as well because I want to probably erase some of the construction lines. So we've got what looks like a window with the 4 sections. Then according to the book we can split these two into half again, around about half anyway, so let's just go for there. Now I know that it's meant to be, you know, measured properly to get the right exact proportions, but I'm just doing this as a sketch and seeing what we can do. So on the bottom line, the bottom horizontal line, I'm going to do a little bit of an oval, like a flattened oval, something like that, and I think that that will be the bottom of our bell, where you can just see underneath the ball. So I'm going to do a bit of a, let's do a bit of a round circle sketch there, and then I'll just erase that top bit. Let me use a different eraser. Just erase that top bit because the ball is sort of just peeking from underneath the bell. Now obviously at this stage it's very rough sketch, so don't need to be, you know, perfect with it at the moment. So I've done that, and now we want to actually draw in our bell proportions. So just looking at the book, I know you can't see this, it's really annoying. Let me see if I can position this so that you can also see what I'm seeing in the book. That's very difficult, I've got no room on this desk whatsoever. Will that do? Hopefully you can see that. I just don't want the book to flap shut. That'll have to do, I think. Very off the cuff video, as usual. I am not organised. Okay, so I can see that this is slanted to one side, but I'm just going to make the best of it. So it says we have to put our lines in for the bell now. So I'm going to do that, and it says just a sweepy line that goes up and meets in the middle. So going up from this corner, and the same on this side. So you could do the flip and trace method, which is outlined in the front of the book. However, it's night time here where I am, and I don't have a window to trace it against, you know, using the sunlight. If you've got the book, she explains that really well. I do have a light table somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where it is, or even where the power leaders for it, so I don't really want to go hunting for that. So yeah, I mean, I can see that this side is probably slightly narrower and, you know, not perfect. And looking at, I'm just looking at, you know, her example in the book, it seems a lot flatter at the top here. So I think what I'm going to do is just get rid of that. The great thing about graphite, unlike coloured pencils that we're all used to using, is that you can just erase it really well if you do make any mistakes. Now I've got a little tea towel here that I'm using as my duster. So yeah, we'll try again. Going to just make that a little squarer as it comes toward the top. So keeping it fairly in line with this construction line as it goes up, and then just starting starting to curve around about here, maybe a little bit higher actually, maybe like that. Just get any sharp edges off there. So something like that. That looks a little more bellish, doesn't it? Got to be careful how I say that. So again, I'm just kind of looking at the space that's being left and the angle that I've taken on this side, and then just trying to emulate that on here. So maybe I'll just bring this line right the way up, and then I can always erase bits later. So really the purpose of this video is just to show you in real time one of these drawing tutorials by somebody who is admittedly not very good at drawing by hand. I'm getting better on the tablet. I've released a couple of colouring pages, well quite a few now actually, of digital drawing, which is so much easier because you can just erase very, very quickly with a tap any mistakes that you've made. And you know, the lines will just straighten themselves out for you. And it's a bit, I don't want to say it's a cheat because that would be disingenuous to those who do that for a living, but it just feels a lot easier. So that's the top of my bell, which I'm pretty happy with proportion wise. I know it's not perfect, as I say, but hey ho. And then I'm just going to look at the bottom half of the bell and how she's done that. So here on the corners where it's gone to a point, that is actually part of the bell shape as I'm seeing it here. So there is a very slight notch in the bell, so it's not got a perfectly smooth outline. So I think what I'll do is I'll come up from the bottom because I reckon that'll be easier. So just coming up from the bottom and then bringing it slowly in, and then just pointing it ever so slightly there on that notch. So it's not a very harsh point. I mean, it's probably harsher than the one Helen's done in the book, but if I just round it out a little bit, I think it gives a bit more character to the shape of the bell rather than having it a complete smooth swoop. Hopefully this is making sense. Now I'm going to turn my paper around a little bit just to make it easier for the wrist to do this kind of action, but I'm just keeping in mind what I've done on this side the whole time. And I'm hoping that this is around about the same width, otherwise we're going to have problems. Maybe I should extend that slightly. Maybe that would be better. We'll see. And then so I came up here just a little and then started to curve almost immediately into this line, which met at a point here. Now let's see what that looks like when I flip it back round. Okay, so it's a little shorter than that side, which looks odd. So what I'll do, again, just really easy to erase and redo it. What I'll do is I'll further extend this squashed oval at the bottom, and let's see, that needs to come up a bit more now. I wonder what that's like. I'll just amend that a little bit because I feel like it's gone a bit square down here. To be honest, I think this might be the hardest part for me anyway, is the initial construction of the shape. So that is far too square there. I'm going to get rid of that completely. That might be as good as I can get it, you know. If I just pull this in a little bit, this line down here, it doesn't actually look that far off. I think maybe it just needs a little bit more of curvature around here, possibly. I'm absolutely rubbish at getting anything symmetrical, so it would really help if I could do that flip and trace thing. Okay, so I'm gonna say that that is how I want to leave it for now. Just looking at the other side, it seems like this is much more of a curve than we've got on this side, so maybe just erasing that a bit will help to symmetry. Oh, that's not even a word. Symmetricalize it. No. Get the dictionary out, Claire. All right. Well, I'm going to say that's it for now because I want to move on. So it says that we need to get a 2B pencil, which I should have here. That's a 6B. You need a 2B. Hang on, that's the one I was using. Duh. Okay, 2B pencil and shading in a curved motion really quite gently. Now I've just realised as I've said this that we haven't put the top of our belt on the little handle. So I do need to do that. And it seems as though we can just draw almost a, well, if I draw a full circle it'd be easier, won't it? Draw a full circle and then another one that's a bit smaller. And we should have a bit of a handle to our bell. It's not perfect, it's not great, but it's a sketch at the end of the day. Okay, so that's that bit of the bell. What did I say we were doing? Right, we're doing a sketch, or a shade. So this is terrible. It's quite late at night and fairly tired, so whatever you get on this one you get. So I'm going to use the side of the pencil to shade, and it says to shade in a curved motion. And yeah, so I'll start from up here. It seems like a bit of a harder pencil to be using to shade, but I guess it's supposed to be light shading, so we'll just have a light hand with it. So just going all the way down, and maybe slightly further in, kind of around about where we've got this little point at the edge, so just coming further towards the centre of the bell. And bringing it down here towards the edge. So I've just seen on the tutorial as well, because I'm just rubbish at seeing things first time I look. I've just noticed we've got a few little lines just put in on this bell here to, I guess, give us the lip or the rim of the bell, or maybe just some detail here at the bottom. So I'm just going to draw that in really lightly. Something like that anyway. And okay, so we carry on the shading. I'll tell you something, I might be tired, but I bet this video is going to put a lot of you to sleep, because I can normally I'm very edit happy, you know. I edit things right down as much as I can to save all this waffling, but I think by now, after 5 years, you're sort of used to my little waffles, aren't you? So I'm not going to worry too much about that. So just putting a little bit of extra shading right here, just kind of following what Helen was doing. And there's also, round about here, a curved line. So let's just pop that in. Something like that, maybe a little bit higher on this side. Okay, and against that curved line, that's where we can bring this shading in a little bit more. So both sides of the line, we'll just bring that shading in. There we go. And then the same on the other side. It might be a case of having to do a few layers of shading, because I'm being quite careful and conservative with how heavily I'm laying this graphite down in the first instance. So that's what I usually do with coloured pencils. I try and put a little bit down first to sort of plot out where I'm going to be putting those darker areas rather than getting straight in there. I think it's the best thing to do. So that's kind of what I'm doing here as well. And I'm going to come across, fill all of that bit in there, and some of this bit as well. I don't want to lose that edge. I'll just redefine that slightly. There we go. I can imagine Helen watching this and just cringing at my terrible, terrible sketching skills. Right. Okay. And then just here, it seems that she's put some extra dark in as well. Now, my bell sticks out a little bit more than hers, but I shouldn't think that'll matter too much really, because it's not exactly the same, you know, size and proportion anyway. We're just looking at some of these extra lines that she's added in at this stage. I think there's one there, and then just a couple toward the top. Again, I just want to try and keep it as symmetrical, the curvature, as I can. Not easy when your hand just wants to go wherever it wants to go. Something like that, something like that. I think I might just put one in here as well. Oh, looks a bit flat for a curve. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm wanting it to just highlight that curvature a little bit. It's looking super rough at this stage. So it says for the 2B pencil again to shade a little bit harder and into the centre from the left edge. So using our 2B again, like I said, I'm coming back in with like a second layer, a harder layer. Now that we've gauged sort of where we want the shade to be and we've not gone too far with it, we can start to get darker. So it's exactly the same really as you do with coloured pencil. If you were wanting to shade a realistic-ish looking bell, you would build up the colour like this and put in your shadow areas wherever you think they should be, you know, depending on where your light source is or just how you think it should look. So that's what I'm doing here. But the difference again with this is that you can erase graphite really, really well, and you can't do that with most coloured pencils. So you can afford to be just a little bit looser and not worry so much. I tend to worry a lot, you know, about my art, which is ridiculous, because it's not like I'm a huge artist that has people relying on me to create pieces that are perfect. It's literally just me in my house, and I'm trying to chill out a bit more about it, like with the alcohol markers in the Johanna Basford books, and you know, not really care much anymore about how art gets done, or you know, just doing it. Doesn't matter if it looks a bit not right or you're ruining another page, you know. I need to learn to let go. So just filling that in kind of similar way of shading just down here that Helen's done it in the book. But Helen is an absolute genius. She is a proper artist, really professional. She sent me earlier on tonight a ice cream cone that she's just drawn and shaded, and honestly it looks like you could just pick it up off the page. I just do not know how she does it. She's amazing. Okay, so just looking at this, it looks like we've got quite a long heavy bar of shade just underneath that area there and down the side. Now, it's very difficult when you're in the middle of drawing or colouring to see the progression. You can sort of fixate on little bits and little areas that just look crap to you, and then you can step back and leave it for a bit. And just stepping back to look at this, it really does have, you know, the shape of the bell, and it is starting to get some curvature to it. So don't be too hard on yourself like I am. Something I need to remember. I even had it tattooed on me. I don't know whether you can see this, but be kind to yourself. Had it tattooed on me because I'm constantly self-berating anything that I do. So just trying to keep that in mind, to be kind to yourself. Alright, so I think we need to do a little bit more here as well. And I will clean up these edges and things. We've got a tiny little weeny Tombow Mono Zero pencil eraser and it's really, really small, and it helps you get into those little areas. So I will clean up the edges and stuff in a bit. And I think that's it for that step. So we've added in some heavier shading over here. Maybe I'll just fill it in a bit more. This video should be one of those, you know, you see adverts on Facebook for that app, is it called Calm, where it's celebrities telling you stories to make you fall asleep. Pretty sure this would be a good contender. I'm just adding in some crosshatch shading. It doesn't say to do that in the book. I'm sort of taking it upon myself to flatten that shading out a little bit. We also need to shade this bit, the handle bit. And according to Helen's drawing, she's made this a little bit higher and then used the inside of the inside loop as like the shaded section. So see if that works. So something like this. Let me just erase some of the lines in there so I don't get confused. Something like this, I think. And seems to me that she's just shaded in that bit completely because that's like underneath. So I'll just shade that in with the 2B. Again, I've not swapped pencils yet, I think that's to come. You use different grades of pencils, different hardnesses. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then also she's done some shading around this right hand edge as well. And also a little bit over here on the left hand side. Now it seems to me from the placement of the highlights that the light is shining over here, so almost directly onto the bell. I guess that's why we've got these bits of shadow at both edges. Alright, so I think she's also done a little layer over the whole thing as well. So it is important to me, as I mentioned, to keep this in real time because so many people draw and it's sped up, and you can't really see what's what. And maybe you'll want to sit there and do this with me and see exactly what I'm doing bit by bit. If you've got the book, you're more than welcome to do this. And also I'd like to take requests for future videos of me doing tutorials from this book, because this isn't going to be the last. So if you do have Sketch and Shade, give me some ideas in the comments of which drawings you'd like to see me attempt in future videos. Hopefully you will want to see me attempt something more like this. I know that a lot of people are here for the, well, most of the people are here for the colouring, and my drawing videos don't get anywhere near the amount of watches and things and interaction as my colouring ones, but you know, I do enjoy drawing. I'm getting more and more into it, and even though it will never be the main focus of this channel, it is nice for me to show you what can be done by somebody who admittedly can't draw. So yeah, leave me comments of what you would like me to attempt next, and if you don't have Sketch and Shade, get yourself a copy. It is very, very thick. It is packed full of tutorials, and it's very, very, very good value for money. So that's the little plug. All right, so what's next? We need to shade the right hand side now toward the central zone. So pretty much same thing we did here, but it's a bit of a thicker area, so hopefully you can see down here it's a bit thicker. And I'm gonna, again, just using the flat side of the pencil, just try and copy somewhat Helen's shading. So maybe I'm not doing this dark enough, but hopefully we'll have the chance in future steps to build up the depth of the colour. I'm sure we will. The colour, there is no colour. Build up the depth of the tone. I'm sure we will, once we start blending. Okay, so I'm just conscious that Helen hasn't gone immediately right up to the line. She's left a little bit of an edge, which to me means it gives it that curvature and a look of being 3D when you leave a little bit of white at the edge. I do it all the time in my colouring. So just totally lost that edge there. Something like that, isn't it? So just deepen that up a little bit more now that we've got the main kind of contours done. And there's also some along here as well. So we've gone quite heavy at the bottom and then just zigzagging it across over here and down here a little bit. So by not keeping it straight, you're constantly giving that sense of curvature to the object. Hopefully I am doing this justice. I think this needs to be slightly rounder over here. As I say, it is not going to be perfect. I'm feeling like this should be a little bit kind of swoopier. I don't know if that's the word. Just maybe have slight more curvature on it. Maybe. Something like that. Obviously that bit needs to be erased because that's where our, what do you call that? Bell thing? Hanging thing? Ooh. Okay, so, oh, we're on to the smudging bit now. This is like one of my favourite bits. So it says smudge gently toward the centre. Now Helen recommends using Q-tips or cotton buds. I also use these, which is a compressed paper stump or tortillon. Totally up to you what you prefer to use. I'm going to use a Q-tip just purely because Helen uses them, and I want to try and emulate her style as much as possible. So I think we should just go for it. I don't know whether to use this flattened pad bit or this stick bit. Let's just do this bit. So we're just smoothing it, blending it right in. Now this paper that I'm using is a dirt cheap printer paper, which I know for a fact is exactly what Helen uses. She doesn't have any fancy papers. She just uses printer paper that you would get in a big ream from the supermarket for about £2, something like that. So just kind of pushing it into the centre, and I don't really want to muddy this too much, so I'm pushing it into the centre. You don't need to have a heavy pressure on there. Maybe in some areas you might need to have more pressure than others just to get it to flatten out a bit more. And let's just do this bit. A little bit under here. Now Helen always recommends to put a piece of paper where your hand rests because you will end up smudging it everywhere. So I definitely should do that. Okay, so again, just doing the same thing from this side, bringing it into the centre. Okay, so it's looking, you know, quite a bit like Helen's Helen's drawing, so I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know whether my shading is heavy or hard enough, but maybe in future steps that will change. So I'll put that to one side and let's turn the page. Now you won't be able to see this unless I do this. That might help. Okay, so it says we need our 4B pencil now. So let me just find a 4B, there we go. This is Derwent Graphic, but I've got quite a few different brands on the go here. So it says, with the 4B pencil, shade across sideways following the curve of the bell, and sort of like this, which is what I've been doing anyway. So I think that this is kind of a thinner, narrower area in the centre of the shading that we've already done. So we don't want to go completely the same width as that shading. I want to bring it in a little bit. So 4B pencil, which is naturally darker. You don't have to press any harder, it just comes out like it's a pen. It just is darker and softer. Like I say, professional artists will be screaming at me now, my terminology. What's I going to do? A bit under there. I am really winging it, I hope you know. I'm sure you know. Right, and then just pull that out a little bit. So you see how it's not extending as far as the initial shading that we've done. It is darker and we are building up that tone. I think maybe my stripes are a bit different to Helen's. They just seem to have merged into a different pattern, but that's okay. And then the same over here, so a little bit wide at the top and then down like this, and kind of a little bit wider where that curve would probably come in there, that not curved, that bit of detail on the bell. And then just following that down, quite skinny. Until we meet this line down here, and then I think it's underneath this part, so we're just skipping that bit there. Underneath this part we go dark again, right up to the curve, and then a little bit down here. We're also starting to put some shade in. Hang on, let me just fill that bit in. It's a bit too light. We're starting to put some shading in the inside of the bell. If I can just do this little bit, I can show you. So a little bit of shading here under the rim. Okay, I think that's right. And just bringing that shading all the way across. Okay, so I'm just checking all the time that my values are looking the same as the ones in the book or similar. So I might need to just deepen some of these areas of shade. But again, the process is you put the graphite down, you blend it out, you put more graphite down, you blend it out until you've built up a strong enough contrast between the highlights and the shadows, and it's nice and smooth as well. So that's constantly what you're kind of striving for. All right, so just thinking I should bring this up slightly. I'm just trying to make sure that the bell is looking the same on both sides, or near as damn it. See, this is quite squared off here, and this is really round. So I might just need to just bring that up a little bit. Something like that. Okay. Next is to shade more and gently under the rim but around the ball. So a bit more shading. So I'll just pop some more graphite down here. Not as dark as we did directly under the lip, but we're also going a little bit over the ball now and into this area on the right hand side of it. Step 8, shade the ball and then smudge the ball. So a little bit of pencil on the ball itself. Now it seems quite dark on Helen's example, so I might need quite a bit of shading going on here. Again, as well, I'm just trying to keep it circular, but my hands don't want to be precise. Kind of important that it's circular for it to look right. I'm going to go with that. It's not perfect. So it said to shade the ball and then smudge the ball. So I'll come back in with the same Q-tip that I used before. Just smudge all of that in. Now, did it say to smudge the rest of the shading that we've just done? I can't see a step that says that, but it looks as though Helen has. So yeah, I'm gonna blend that out as well. See, this book and these tutorials are also brilliant if you're not interested in graphite drawing but you want to learn how to shade with your coloured pencils, because all the dark values on the graphite is just showing you when to put darker colours on there. So say you were doing a purple bell, you would start off with a really nice lavender colour and it would build up where the shadows are to, you know, a really deep dark grape purple. And it just helps to know, you know, from an artist where these shapes and shadows go to make it, you know, kind of realistic. Right, well, I've done a pretty bang up job of that. So what's next? We've done the ball. 6B or 8B to darken the ball in the areas shown. So I've got an 8B here. And what she's done is, it seems as though we've got a darker edge to the ball here. So I'll just pop that in. And then under the ball too. And then it's kind of got some little curved lines here. I want to say perpendicular, but that might not be the right word, but it's got the same sort of gap as it curves around, so it's following the ball shape. And then there's another which is more of a C shape. It's more of this, but it kind of joins on, so we'll try that. It's quite thick. This 8B is really soft pencil, so we can put down some nice deep values without having to press hard at all. Oh, look at me talking about values like I know what I'm talking about. Just going to redefine that edge of the ball a little bit there. This line is sort of running against, again, the edge of the ball, but it's not quite touching it until we get to about there. And then we've got some more definition around this side. So hopefully that's what I'm meant to do. Just following these steps as closely as I can. And I said to Helen, I said, you know, I'm planning on doing a video for some of your tutorials, but if they turn out rubbish, that is all on me and my lack of skills, not Helen's tutelage, because she really does break down everything. So this isn't going to look like hers because I'm not a professional artist, but it's going to look as close as I can get it. Alright, so we've done some darkening there. Now it's asking us to, I believe with the same pencil, gently darken this line down the bell to give it a more 3D effect and add to the shine. Alright, so I'm going to just come back in as well and just redefine these lines slightly because I feel like we're losing them. And I want to try and get it as symmetrical as possible. So redefining the lines. This is really crisp on Helen's. I need to come back in and do the outline. So yeah, put those outlines back in. Same here. I'm just gonna just put some lines back in so we can see what we're doing. Okay, that'll do. And so gently darken this line down the bell. This will give a 3D effect. Okay, let's do it. So again, using this 8B, going for a skinny little line right down the bell. And it almost seems to fade just at this point into the rest of the shading. So I'm hoping that's what I'm meant to do. Just curve it a bit at the top. And then just get this line quite dark here. and then it says erase to whiten within the top ring. So this is the ring up here, and she's telling us to erase just inside here, which will lighten it up and start to give that look of dimension. So remember what I said about putting graphite down, smudging it, erasing it, putting it down, smudging it, erasing it, and just getting that pattern of working, getting into the habit of that really. Okay, just want to smooth that out a little bit. It's annoying me. Do you ever get annoyed by little tiny things? I'm looking for the eraser and I'm holding it. Yeah, that's slightly better. Okay, and on the handle as well, we've also got a little bit of a, let me grab my 2B, a little bit of a detail there on the top, and Helen has shaded that in as well. So we need to do a bit of shade here and then curve it and just redefine, I think, this dark area. Now this is where I need that piece of paper. Let me bring one out. I've already made loads of smudges anyway, so it's not really going to help at this stage, but let's just fill in this with the 8B so we can get nice deep shading. And again a little bit more here at the edge. Now I think I might just need to go back in with that cotton bud just slightly, so that we have still got a bit of, you know, tone on there. And we can always bring the eraser in to erase little spots right in the centre. Something like that. I'll also just use the little point of my Q-tip to bring some out like that on that bally bit. Okay, the next thing is to erase the white details of the body of the bell, but again I'm thinking that we might need to just give that a little bit of a smudge so it's not as stark and liney. Oh. Okay, so what did it say? Erase the white details of the body of the bell. So I'm going to do a little bit of a bigger eraser here because we've got more to erase. So again, just being really imprecise, I guess. And by doing that, you should give it more of a realistic look, because it's not kind of perfect erased lines. It has that metallic-y look about it. So I'm just running down the bell with the eraser back and forward, and I think maybe in this centre it should be completely erased. Let me get my tea towel. Again, we can always add some more shading back in if needed. If I've gone a bit too far with it, which I probably have. And a bit on here as well. And then some little details here and there that aren't quite, and I might use the little eraser for this, that aren't quite in this body of highlight, they're just on the edge. Again, keeping the curvature as much as possible. Now, just looking at mine, and yours will be different, I think I need to bring this up a bit more here and curve it so that this rim is looking more like a curve. There's also some white bits here coming in from the right hand side where I said not to go straight up to the edge. And again, that will just give the look of curvature and dimension and all that good stuff. It says to erase thin curved grooves across the bell. This gives added details for realism and interest. So that's kind of this bit that I've been doing, these little patches, and then probably some more sort of here and there. But I think as long as you are following the general curvature, you'll be fine. I'm just going to add this line back in. I hope we're in focus. Just checking that now. I can't see. I'm craning my neck to see. What's next? I think we've done all of our lines. Maybe just a few little skitty ones there. I think maybe this should come out a little bit more. Just constantly referring back, seeing that I'm on the right path with what I'm doing. And then blending it out some more. It's something like this anyway, something like this. Okay, do I need to erase a bit from here or just blend it a bit? I think I've got to properly smush this bit in now. Just crisping up those edges. It doesn't look right to me both sides, but it'll have to do. So there is a bit of a line down here just underneath. And then there's also a bit of erased area going on over here. There we go. Okay, next page. So it says number 14 is using the 8B or the 10B to darken the ball and erasing the highlights for a pearlescent effect. Hopefully you can see that. So the darkest or softest pencil I've got is the 8B, so I haven't got a 10B. So I'll just do my best with that. So again, it's just saying to darken up what we've done, deepen that and then we can start to erase for our highlights. So I'm just thickening the border, making it a bit rougher so it doesn't look as perfect. Okay, and then I think we should give it a smudge. And then start to erase the highlighted areas. So there's a bit of a highlight here. And one that curves here with this line that we've already done. A little bit there. And some over here as well. Now hopefully you'll see that we are starting to get that three-dimensional shine going. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clean bit of my Q-tip, or cleanish bit, and not completely smudge into it, but just blur the edges a little bit, so again it's not as stark white with crisp edges. We're just going to blur those edges a little bit so it looks a bit more natural. Something like that. So it says the next thing is to erase this bottom corner, which we did mostly already. I'm going to do a little bit more. And erase the indents, which again I think we've already done that. I think I took it upon myself to do that earlier. So just erase that a little bit more. And then 17, softly erase around the bell. So around the edge, but only softly. We don't want to lift up all of that graphite. We just want to softly erase it. So we're just erasing around the dark edge of the board just to give it a bit of contrast. Step 18, erase within the edge. So just here, it's almost like this line that we did at the edge is going to get thicker and come out towards the centre of the bell a little bit. Now I think I need to push this down a bit more, getting towards the metal bit. I also need to clean it, so I'll just do that a little bit on this white paper and clean all the remnants of graphite off there. So I think that's what we're meant to do. 19, erase details under the rim where the light catches. So according to that graphic, it is just under here. So we'll just do a little curved erase there. Then it says darken this length here. Use the side to side texture. So we're going to need our darkest or softest pencil, the 8B again, and we're going to just again deepen up this area as much as possible. Shed use side to side. Okay, so darken that area, and I don't know whether we should give that a blend as well. Okay, I'm thinking that should be blended a little bit because it's a bit obvious. I also think that we need to just erase a bit here as well, where that line is that I put in, just so we can see that we're continuing that all the way across the bell. I'm sort of making it my own now. You don't have to follow Helen's instructions to the absolute letter, because yours will turn out different to mine and anyone else's. So really just gauge it. I always say that, just gauge it. Okay, then using the 8B, again, we need to darken under and within the oval rim. Okay, so under it, so right down here, I need to deepen this up. My pencil's getting really blunt now, but that might actually help us. And just under the rim as well. It says to go right down here. Into these shadowed bits here. And also onto the far corners. Again, this is just gone a bit weird this side, it's not the same shape. I'm also looking at this from an angle as well, so this to me, looking at it from this angle, the way that I'm sat, this is just automatically going narrower at this side. So I've done that. Now I'm guessing we should blend it out. Let's see. 10B pencil, add crisp lines under the ridges for high contrast. These ridges that we drew in earlier. Here's my paper. We're going to put some of those lines back in for contrast. Again, if you're not happy, you've gone too far, it is as simple as just erasing it out. So much easier than going wrong with colour pencil. Let's see where the rest of, so these ridges down here as well. Probably sharpen this one sec. Okay. There we go. Oops. Right underneath this bit. All the way across. And then over the top of this bit as well. Starting to sing. I always start singing and humming when I'm colouring or drawing on my own. Just started doing Freebird there, Leonard Skinner. Right, was there any more bits that we need to put in that's a bit darker? It seems like she's done a bit of a patch here that's darker, that sort of follows on down. So we'll do that. And again, we will smudge it. And erase. Just going to pop that line back in. I also feel like this is a bit too stark on this edge, so I'm going to shade that a little bit, or smudge it rather. And then just erase if I've gone too far with the smudging. Backwards and forwards, that's how we do it. Okay, and I'm just going to bring the 2B back in to get a fine crisp line. And then it says erase any smudges from the outside. So I'm just going to click some of this eraser out so we've got a nice clean bit, and go right around the edge. Now I'm not looking at this as a whole yet, so I don't know really how well it's turned out because I've just been looking at every little bit that I've been doing. But hopefully I've done all right. Just getting all of these little smudged bits to make it crisper. I'm just looking at where we've got the little knobble on each side there. Might need to make that a bit more defined this side. But it doesn't have to be the same both sides, you know. There's no law saying it has to. Could just be the way it's designed. That's the sort of all the lines that are really up close to the bell erased. Now I've still got some construction lines to do, so I'm just going to clean off my larger eraser. This is just a Faber-Castell white eraser, latex free. I'll just clean that off. And then let's see if we can just get a bit more erased around here, just to clean it up. Now, if you're anything like me, you will have loads and loads of smudges. That's absolutely fine. It's all part and parcel of sketching. So just erase these construction lines here, and then I think we'll be done. So these are the original lines that we put in when we did the grid. We can just erase those now because we no longer need them. Give it another little waft with the tea towel. I did used to have a dust brush, but then I used it to clean off some paint that was flaking on my skirting board, so now it's covered in cobwebs and old paint, so I need to get another one really. Okay, let's have a look at this then as a full entity now that we've done that. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so I don't think it's too bad really. I mean, obviously it's not as perfect as Helen's, and we're probably just kind of comparing them now, could do with just bringing some of this shading in a little bit, and that might make all the difference. So I'll bring it in. Nail keeps catching. I'll bring it in. I think that already is starting to look better and more natural. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that for a first try. It's not too bad, is it? I don't know, whereas we've got the curvature that Helen's got on hers. We probably would need to go around with the eraser a bit more and maybe just make some more highlights and things, get the highlights a little bit brighter. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that because it is a first go and I don't want to go, you know, crazy with it. So yeah, I really hope that you've enjoyed watching me fiddle about and be really boring and tired, and yeah. So again, Sketch and Shade, absolutely fantastic book. Cannot say enough about it. If you've got Helen's Colorist Special Effects books, you definitely need this one. Even if you're not interested in graphite drawing, it will help you learn highlights and shadows. So yeah, it's just brilliant. Link in the description for that. There's my bell. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon on Colour with Claire.